2016. We are here. It is now February, so we're a good month into the year. I'm currently in my off season. I started in probably about 2 weeks ago. It's going pretty well. I'm under the guidance of Justin Harris from Troponin Nutrition. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about him. He's great, and I'm going to be working with him through the entire off season and all the way into my contest prep and beyond. So exciting stuff. That's really about it for me. I haven't really got much to report, so I'm gonna not be boring as shit and talk about myself. We're actually going to answer some questions I have here on my phone. I put a post out about 2 weeks ago, asking you guys, do you have any questions? And I have quite a lot, so I'm probably gonna reduce this down. I've probably got enough here to fill maybe two or three video vlogs. A lot of these questions are pertaining to training. It's quite hard to just talk about training. We can a little bit. We can touch upon it. A couple of things. The main questions that have come up is leg training actually, and how to isolate your VMO, your teardrop, or your outer quad, which is your vastus medialis. They are the two part of the legs which people want to emphasize on. Okay, the first things when it comes to leg training, the absolute main thing when it comes to leg training is intensity. I mean, anyone can just go on a leg press, do 10, 15 reps, and when they probably could have done 500 reps with that weight, they're not putting much into it. So that's the main thing is how hard you trained, and the intensity. I mean, I'm probably going to actually film a leg session soon, and I can probably get a bit more in depth here. But in terms of isolating movements, I mean, when you think of a compound movement, don't think about it as in terms of isolating certain areas of your quad. Think about it more in terms of how can you greater activate a muscle rather than isolate. I mean, they are quite different things. I mean, isolation is literally trying to pinpoint that one specific muscle, and activating is essentially recruiting more of that muscle within a movement. So when it comes to your outer sweep, the main thing I do when I have clients, when I'm training people, is a slightly narrower stance. And if you can imagine you've got your feet on the floor now, push as hard as you can into the floor, the side of your feet, obviously through your heels. You should feel with the outside of your quads just go rock hard, solid, just really like flex hard. That's as simple as that. That's how you should be pushing on a leg press, or if you're squatting or Smith squatting or hack squatting, whatever you're doing. If you're pushing through that part of your feet, the plane of movement and the plane of tension will transfer more to the outer sweep. And I find that to be the most effective way. But again, without the intensity in your training, it's still not going to do anything. In terms of your VMO, your teardrop, I mean, this part of your quad is mostly there for knee flexion. So partial reps just won't cut it. You'll generate tension there, but you're not going to fully lengthen it. So if you think about your knee joints here and your VMO, your VMO's this little bit at the end, so this bit here, this is your VMO. So if you're just doing, your legs are sort of bending this much, just tiny little bit, you're not going to activate it by doing full squats or full presses. You're going to be lengthening and shortening your VMO to a greater extent. And this is why a lot of people feel it when they do leg extensions, but not when they squat or leg press. Again, the intensity is hugely important. A little trick for isolating, we're going to go into an isolation. If you're doing leg extensions, if you want to really hit your VMO hard, when you do a leg extension, when you come to the top of the rep and you're flexing quads really hard, imagine you've got like an apple in between your thighs, and just try and squeeze that to push that together, and your VMO just cramp up almost because it really flexes it really hard. And the same and if you really want to hit your VMO harder with squats and leg presses, hack squats, that sort of thing, it's just a lot of that is a matter of depth. Because like I said, it's responsible. It's the main purpose of the muscle is knee flexion. So you need to make sure you are creating a greater amount of movement within the joint. So if you're just doing partial reps, you're not going to generate a huge amount of tension through your VMO. You're not going to take it for its full range. That's about it. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into it because you can't really say much. But just, if you're trying, basically, the bottom line is if you can squat 4 or 5 plates for 20 reps, you don't really have to worry too much about trying to target a part of your quads because all of it should be massive. So try and do that. Try and get as many reps as you can out with as much weight as possible. and be safe with it. That'd be my goal. So if you can squat, say, 140 kilos, 3 plates, you can do that for 6 reps now. Keep plugging away at that until you can get 15, 20 reps of that weight, with good, controlled form. Tell me how much your legs won't have grown, because they absolutely will have. And that sort of applies to all your body parts, really. So strength, be progressive with it. I mean, don't just do the same bullshit every week. Just don't go to the gym and think, oh, I'll just put the same amount of reps, because that made me grow, because I've been doing that for 4 fucking years and it's not done anything. So, just think about the greater goals. Set yourself little mini goals as well. So, and this is why I'm really into my logbook, keeping a logbook, knowing exactly what I've done. So if I've done 4 plates for 20 reps and that was all I could do on that day, I pushed that set as hard as I could. When I come around again to do the same squat for 20 reps, I know in my mind I can do 20 reps for 4 plates. If I do it again, is it going to get me better results? Probably not. But what if I did 21 or 22 reps? Or I put a couple kilos extra on each side and did it 20 reps again? That's a progression. And you add up these tiny little progressions each week or every month, and you're hitting way more reps with the same weight, or the same reps with more weight in months down the line. You will have grown. And like I said, if you can squat 4 or 5 plates for 15, 20 reps, you will not have small legs. Your legs will be big whether you like it or not. Yeah, let's get into some of these questions now. I'm not going to go too much into the leg training, because again, you can't really talk. I'm in a fucking lounge. I haven't got a leg press in there anywhere. Wish I did. I don't. Okay. This is from my good buddy. He is on Facebook as Benbow Rowe. Okay, hi mate. What's your main goals and push for this off-season compared to last year? Last year, one of my emphasizes was balancing out my physique more, getting a little bit more hamstring, a bit more inner thigh, lower lat thickness, and bring up my chest. I think I did that to a certain extent, and not as much as I'd like. This year, I'm going to obviously focus on those aspects again, but my goal this off-season is overall size, but to keep my shape in line. So I don't want to blow up too much, but my aim is overall mass. So obviously, but still emphasizing those body parts. Also, what do you think Batman can squat? I can tell you how much you can squat because I've got a book over there, which is the Encyclopedia of Batman, and I researched this, and I think this is horse shit, being a Batman fan. But apparently he just says lift, so it might be a deadlift, but even so, it's definitely not true. Apparently he can do 500 kilograms. That's a load of batshit, to be honest, because that's not true. But I really would love that to be true. So we're going to say 500 kilos. Batman is the strongest human being ever. Right, without any powers. So fuck you, Captain America. Okay, eating to grow and how you eat in the off-season. This is by Ellis Quarterman. Cool. Okay. Eating to grow and how to eat off-season. It's as simple as this. I eat meat and rice or whey and oats every 2 to 3 hours. And depending on how much I eat, it's depending on how much I'm doing that particular day and what my results are telling me. So if I'm not gaining weight or I'm staying the same, I'll increase it. If I am getting a bit porky, I will decrease my carbohydrates. If I am having a rest day and I'm not doing anything, I'm just laying around on my arse all day reading Batman encyclopedias, finding out how much you can squat, then I will have a lot less carbohydrates and more protein, more fats. So again, I mean, really, it's just a question of not eating too much that I get grotesquely out of shape. To which my mum says, "What the fuck has happened to you?" But eat enough to grow muscle, because you can only grow as much as you can grow. You can force the process, but that involves being a fat bastard like I've done in the past. Wouldn't advise it. So that's how I eat in the off season. I'm sorry I can't give you any sort of macros because it really depends on the day. My protein sits around 350. Sometimes can go up to 390, depending on what I'm doing. If I go on a very, very, very high carb day to sort of push through plateaus, or I've got leg day, so a bit of a cold. I'll bring the protein down, the fats, or no fats, added fats, and then I'll just push my carbs really high, and everything else comes down. Because if you have really high protein and you're trying to hit really high carbs, good luck digesting all that. So, okay. Hope that's answered your question. I just eat a lot of good food. I don't eat Cocoa Pops. Okay. Thoughts and experiences with low volume, high frequency training. I've seen you moving a lot of weight. Thanks. Do you believe that contributes to your size opposed to lighter, high volume training principles? Okay, well, this is from Dan McKinley. Thank you for the question. Lighter, high volume training principles. I think you've answered that question sort of indirectly yourself, because lighter training does not build muscle. I think that's universally accepted. I mean, some people may argue that it does. Of course it fucking doesn't. You know, doing body weight walking lunges versus squatting 5 plates for 10 reps, what's going to build your legs more? I'm not even going to go into the science, or I've read a study this, or I've seen that. It's just obvious to me. So, but when it comes to low volume, high frequency training, a lot of people mistake that for lower volume, which is correct. Per training session, it is lower volume. However, if you're training one body part twice every, let's say 4 days, it's training which is essentially almost twice a week. You are doing, if you were to do those 2 workouts together, that would be essentially high volume. But you're splitting that volume up and putting more intensity into it. So the more times you can train, recover, and train a body part again, the more opportunities you have for that muscle group to grow. And it's that simple. But in terms of volume versus low volume, what does that mean? I mean, that's very dependent on how you count your training. I mean, let's say you squat six plates and that's your work set. You do that for 8 reps, that's your work set, versus somebody else who squats 2 plates for 8 reps, that's their work set. Who do you think is going to have the most amount of sets to get to their max effort set? They're both doing 1 max effort set, just 1. So so you're looking at the guy stronger and bigger. It's going to take him a lot more sets to get to that work set than it is something smaller. Some people may count all of those sets, and so the big guy who's done 6 plates, he's done maybe 12 sets to get there, and somebody else, the smaller guy who's done, the men's physique guy, has done 2 plates for 8 reps, and it's taken them maybe 3 sets to get there. They've still, in my eyes, only done 1 set to failure. That's the one that really counts. So again, it depends on how you count your reps and how you count your sets. So I mean, do you count your work set or do you count all your sets? I only count the work set. So to me, that's 1 set, not 10, not 11, not however many it took you to get there. It's very much dependent on the person. But in terms of, I mean, one of the reasons I like doing that is I will do as little as possible. I'll do as many warm-ups as needed, but push those warm-ups to the least amount that I can, so I don't take away from the work set. And I push the heavy weight at the end. I've warmed up safely, my joints are ready, my CNS has been handling a progressively heavier weight as I warm up. So when I get to my work set, I have it in me to push that as hard as I can, okay? And I'm telling you, if you're pushing a set to the point where if somebody had a gun to your head and said, do another rep, and you cannot do it, you can't, that's it. You're not mental failure, like physical failure. If you cannot push that weight for 1 more rep, then you're done. That's it. That set is done. You will grow from that. And all the other bullshit that you can do after that, like in these high volume sessions, you're just eating into your recovery. So you cannot train that body part 4 days later. You'll have to wait 5 or 6 days to train it again. So that's why I prefer the low volume, high frequency, because I can train a body part really, really hard, but a lot of focus and a lot of intensity into slightly less exercises. And I can push so hard that but not too much volume, so I can recover much sooner and train that body part again. So this sort of ties into another one from Sean Barber here, saying training tips for bringing up a lagging body part, say chest, which is the example he's given. If you have a shit chest and you're training it once every 7 days, and you're training every other body part once every 7 days, but your chest is weak, logically you should probably train that again. Like you should train. I mean, let's forget biomechanics and how to activate it. Let's just go back to the logical. You're training it once a week, and you're training, say, your shoulders, which grow really fucking easily. You're training that once a week. That doesn't make any sense. So what would I do? I would increase your frequency of the weaker body parts. That's the first thing I would do. In terms of how can I help you bring up your chest, I have no idea how you train your chest. I have no idea how well you recruit your chest whilst training, because that's a huge point. It's not how much or how hard you train a body part, but how you are performing it and how you are actually training it, you know? Hydrate. So, in terms of bringing up lagging body parts, let's just, for all intents and purposes, you are maximally recruiting your chest. When you press, you're feeling it. You're getting really sore. Everything's firing. You're not training it shitty, and nothing's doing. You're not doing anything with your chest or triceps. Let's ignore that. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you are training chest efficiently. Try adding in an extra pump day. So let's just say you do chest on it. So you could do heavy chest on a Monday, and then you could also add in, say you're doing arms on a Thursday or a Friday. You could always add in some extra chest work there. You know, it doesn't have to be heavy again. I mean, you can stay away from the more higher risk movements like barbells and heavy dumbbells, and you could just stick more with machines and cables and stuff and still move some good weight, get some good contraction, get a lot of blood flow. And by doing that, you've increased the frequency you've trained the muscle, you've increased the volume over the course of 7 days. And I think that's the best way to go with any lagging body part. Firstly, train it correctly, obviously, and then increase the frequency. If you're extremely balanced, then you can do the higher frequency, lower volume training for everything. And that's what I do. I'm not saying I'm absolutely balanced, but I'm pretty balanced. So I try and do that for every body part, which is why I do the push-pull leg split. And I think that's the best way to gain size over time. You're training every body part frequently, hard, recovering and training it very often. You get more times to grow. I know this is something Dante Trudel says, and this is what he preaches with the DC training. The more often you can tear down a muscle, rebuild it, tear it down, rebuild it, tear it down, rebuild it. The more often you can do that, the more potential that muscle group has to grow. And this is logic, really. So yeah, that's it. Okay, here's another one. Charles Ellis, training smart to reduce injury. Okay. This again goes back to how well you perform a movement. So if you're just doing bullshit reps, just throwing weight around, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm getting progressively stronger, but you're also getting progressively shitter with your form, that's not training smart. Training hard and training smart are not mutually exclusive to themselves. So you have to do both. So when it comes to training, you need to learn how to move a weight efficiently. So the way I have people train, the way I train myself, is a controlled negative. Let's just say a 3 count negative and a 1 count on the way up. That's just the main reason for that is you do increase your time under tension with the negative. You are controlling the movement. You're keeping your joints extremely tight, and you're not throwing shit around. So the tighter you can keep a joint through the entire movement, the less the joint moves. So you see people doing that weird bounce shit off their chest. That's every time they're doing that, their shoulders are loosening, and then they have to recontract, and then they have to sort of get back into place in a split second. It's all over the fucking place. They're all like this. So if you're lowering a bar, you're doing a press, you lower it, control, and you explode up, and then you control it down. And you explode up. You're keeping your joints very tight. You're keeping the muscle under tension, and you're not using any momentum. You're just using muscle. So you can't lift more than your muscles can lift. But when you bring momentum into it, you can get a bit of a swing out of it. So you're essentially cheating reps. You're just asking for a tear. So when it comes to training smart to reduce injury, that's what I'd say is clean up your reps, focus on tension. When your form is dialed in, then you progress. When you progress up in weight, if you can move X amount of weight for 10 extra reps or with an extra 20 kilos on there a couple months later with exactly the same form and everything is still tight, you haven't sacrificed form, you're still moving weight extremely efficiently, that's where the growth is going to come from. And I highly doubt you're going to be injured. I think a lot of injuries, I've injured my pec before. I have a right pec injury, a very minor tweak. And it was a very stupid mistake. I just thought I'm going to jump up and weight too easily. And as I brought the bar down, I just was pushing it, and it felt heavy. It was super heavy. And instead of keeping it in control, because I hadn't gradually built up to this weight, I just jumped up. I had to really like get some momentum behind it, and that overloaded the tendon, it overloaded the joint. The joint didn't stay tight. I wasn't in control. Little minor tear. So, and that's the only, and I had to learn that lesson. That you see a lot of people, you know, they don't warm up efficiently. They don't move weights efficiently, and it's all about efficiency and intensity together. They are the two ways to stay safe, train smart, and grow. Okay, any more? Some of these, a lot of these are leg questions, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a separate video on leg training. Let me find the other one. I've got some more questions. Okay. Isolate the sweep. Okay, here's one from Michael Edmonds. Hey, bud. Why do I hit back and rear delts in the same session rather than working biceps in with back or hitting rear delts at the same time as front delts? Okay, this is simply because I do the push-pull leg split. I group muscle groups together that sort of go together together. So say I'm doing chest, shoulders, and triceps. They're all pushing muscles. A rear delt is a pulling muscle. So I do a chest movements, shoulder movements, so side and fronts, and then I would do triceps. They're all pushing movements. And the same with pulling. Your rear delts are they're a pulling movement. So when I hit back, I will then hit rear delts, then I'll hit biceps. So everything's warm at this point. So it's very, very, very easy to train the rear delts very efficiently when they've already had a lot of work from rowing and pulling from the back. So that's one of the main reasons I do that. It just allows me to focus on the muscle I want to hit that day, you know, get in and out, and then train other body parts that sort of go together more efficiently, if that makes sense. So, like I said, back, rear delts, and biceps seem to go together pretty well. You know, they're all pulling groups. You know, just like chest, shoulders, and triceps are. So when you get to triceps at the end, you've already pressed with chest. You've already pressed with shoulders, and then you're going to do some more tricep movement. Your triceps are going to be dead at the end. They're going to be baked. So it's going to be very, very easy to train your triceps at the end, rather than having to say do triceps after back, where you're then going to have to warm them up, get the muscle, get the blood flowing again. That's just personally the way I like to do it. And also, if I were to train rear delts with shoulders, it's just another extra movement that I need to do that day. You know, where I'm already doing a fair amount of body parts in one go, so they don't really go together. So that's why. Okay, what else we got? Oh. Working on injuries. This is from Matt Partington. Hello, bud. I'm struggling to press on shoulder movements, so I'm relying on isolation movements, front raises, side laterals, rear flies, etc. Is this enough, or would you structure your delt workout if you had a similar problem? Okay, I have guys who have shoulder problems, and when you look at the shoulders, every time you train back, every time you train arms, every time you train chest, your shoulders are massively involved. Okay, so this is one of the reasons why I put shoulders with chest. So I'm just going to assume here that you haven't said that you can't press for chest. So if you can press for chest, your shoulders should be very, very fatigued at this point. So any sort of side laterals, rears, and front raises at the end, you shouldn't really need to do front raises. Your front delt should be pretty baked. So if you did just a lot of, maybe you can do upright rows as well. There's another one. I like to do them very wide and pull them sort of my lower chest, similar to a side raise. So train your chest. Your shoulders will be extremely warm at this point. Don't do any presses, and just and if you're training chest, you're going to be putting your shoulder joint under a lot of load just by lifting heavy weight. And the same with pulling. You're a strong guy. I know this. So when you're pulling a lot of weight, you're pushing a lot of weight. Your shoulder joint, your shoulder muscle is under a good load. So when it comes to the shoulder training, as cliche as this may have sounded compared to some of the other things I've said in this vlog, just get a huge pump in the shoulders and just really finish them off. It worked well for me last year because my shoulders were pretty good compared to my chest, and that's all I would advise, because as I said, your shoulders are getting a lot of indirect work, which is a lot more than people think it does. So that's essentially what I would do. Okay. Was this the last question, Elliot Wise? Thank you for your question, mate. Do you ensure you start your off-season at a reasonable body fat level? I see lots of guys, typically top competitors, take long breaks prior to starting an off-season, and surely they would be relatively out of shape before embarking on a calorie hike. Do you ensure you are lean enough prior, or just fuck the body fat up and go for it? or do I recomp along the way? There's not really any reason for you to, if you had a really long time off, there's no reason for you to be out of shape at all unless you're still eating as if you are training. I took December off, I didn't do anything, and I didn't eat anywhere near as much. I ate enough for me to maintain the amount of output I was doing that day. So if honestly, it was a lot of sitting on the computer doing work and a lot of running around after my children. That was it. And I ate in accordance to that. So if you're having time off and you're already lean, you shouldn't get fat unless you're eating too much. It's simply calories in versus calories out in this case. So if you're sitting on your ass all day and you're eating way too many calories to support you sitting on your ass, then you're going to get fat. But if you're eating just enough for what your body needs, then you shouldn't get fat at all. So that's why you see a lot of these guys, they may shrink a little bit. That's just because they're not training. It's simple. So what do I do? If I'm fat, let's put this scenario. I have been fat. So if I'm very fat, I will tighten up a bit first, and then I will ramp up calories and keep them tight. I don't think there's a problem with certain people to add body fat in the off season if they are naturally inclined that way. Try and keep it to a minimum. But if you are naturally a huskier guy, I think if you trying to stay lean for certain people will sacrifice the amount of muscle you could potentially put on. I think if you're going to then diet for a show, you'll just have to start earlier. But for me, if I have time off, I just eat in accordance to what I'm doing during that time off. Do I recomp along the way? Yeah, I do actually, and that's exactly what I've done. I've been in off season now for maybe, I think this is my 3rd week actually. So my weight's been very gently increasing, but my body fat has noticeably dropped. But I don't think that's because I put any body fat on during my lazy December, apart from Christmas. But if you didn't get fat over Christmas, you had a shit Christmas. So, what was I saying? Yes. So, in the time off, you just eat in accordance to that time off, and then when you jump back into your training, you're not going to go a month or 10. Say you go 10 weeks off with no training. You're not going to jump back into your training as if you've been training every day for the last 6 months. You're going to build back into it, and you will build your food back into it. And I think it's a lot of common sense. So, time off, you get back in the gym. You're a little bit softer, not because you're fatter, just because your muscles are a bit deflated. You gently bring back your training. First week will be pretty shit. Second week will be as well. And you'll build up, and as you build up, your food will come up, and everything comes up together. And you should recomp at this point. So, this is quite a long video, so I'm going to stop it here because I think we're about half an hour. But yeah, so thanks for listening. If you've got any more questions, I'm going to put a post up again when I do this, and I will start answering questions. I try and keep them shorter, but this is the first of the year, so I hope I answered the questions correctly. Like I said, I will do a video more specifically on training techniques, and I also put my own training videos up to show how the way I train, so you can see. So everyone says they train hard. I believe I train hard, but so when I put a video up, you can see the way I train, and you can judge that for yourself. So just keep doing guys keep doing what you're doing, and I'll keep doing what I'm doing. I will film another one of these soon, and I'll put a video up. I'll put this up on YouTube as soon as it's rendered, so it should go up today. And I will film the next one soon, and I will post up again asking for any more questions. And I promise you I will keep the next one a lot more brief. So, cheers. See you soon.